For Fox, it's a business decision. If the rallies don't rate as well as the regular programming, they're going to go with the regular programming. That's the bottom line. I wonder, Zurawik, if you think Trump calling into 2 shows on Fox this week was a direct result of these rallies no longer being carried. Is Trump going to find other ways to get on?
Yeah, I think that's absolutely what's going on. You know, if you think a little bit even about Trump, all he knows is ratings. That's where he lives and dies. Remember Arnold Schwarzenegger. Anybody who doesn't have ratings as good as him is a loser. So I think the fact that he realized or was told and couldn't avoid the fact that his rallies were on a downward arc in terms of Nielsen popularity, I think that really rattled him, and I think we're in the mid-phase now where he's going to try other venues to get time. You know, it was pathetic almost, Brian, to see him sucking up to Fox in his last rally last week where he's going, don't you love Tucker? And don't you love, and he's going down the line. And I thought, this is pathetic. That's all he knows is power and fear. And Fox told him, your ratings are down. We're going to have to go to other programming. And now he's sucking up to him. I think he'll call in more and he'll go to other venues. Like he's using Sinclair. He's trying to use Sinclair more with Boris Epstein, the former aide that he has. He's going to him. And instead of Boris's little must-carry bottom line with Boris editorials, now they're interviews with Trump and senior administration officials.
Right.
Listen, he started doing them before the Kavanaugh hearing, and I saw another one that ran on WJLA here in Washington, where it's, the economy is roaring, it's never been so great. What's your reaction, Mr. President? You know, and that's the interview. But they're running in news programs on local stations, and now Trump is making himself available to Sinclair and people like that. So he's looking for other ways to go. 60
Local
minutes.
interviews, Fox Business on Tuesday coming up, all these different interviews. Maybe we can put back on screen the list of everything he did this week, because Doug, he is clearly dominating the conversation. This is very effective politically for President Trump to become his own spokesman, to hold his own briefings essentially. But is there also a risk of him exposing ignorance on certain subjects? You know, when he's talking about the case of the missing Saudi journalist, he said a lot of things that could end up harming diplomatic relations, etc.
There's always that risk with him, whether it's something that he's tweeting or something that he's saying. But Trump's purpose here is to dominate all media coverage, and there's no one that we've seen in American public life that's better than that. And
there's no one on the left, right? There's no Democrat who has half the star power that Trump has right now.
If Oprah Winfrey wanted to live in a world of chaos, perhaps Oprah Winfrey could do it, but she doesn't want to live in that world of chaos.
Right.
Donald Trump thrives on this. Even when it's negative news, he drives the coverage. You looked at the Kanye West meeting. You either saw a complete debacle or, more importantly, you saw it, and everyone saw it. And as we were talking earlier, no one was talking about Nikki Haley's resignation within 48 hours.
Remember that?
And
Remember
what an important issue that was.
Goodness. You know, we were talking before the show started about the White House briefings and how the briefings are basically dead. Maybe there's one briefing a month if the press corps is lucky. Do you think it matters that the briefing is gone away, given that President Trump is so accessible on his own terms?
It's absolutely important, because what they may ask Sarah Huckabee Sanders are different questions than they'll ask the president, and it's more, frankly, feedback from the White House. It's more of the White House being held accountable, and there's a reasonable discussion to have as to whether or not they should be televised and whether that's the proper course. Mike McCurry, the former Clinton White House press secretary, has said that he doesn't want to see them televised anymore because it's all of a show. Welcome to the Trump presidency. But we're not getting that accountability on a day-to-day basis from this White House that we need. And that should be concerning, whether it's this White House or the next one. And that's ultimately the issue here. Donald Trump changes how all politicians talk. That's why we sometimes talk about Michael Avenatti running for president. That wouldn't happen under a President Rubio or Walker or Bush or whomever.
Or Eric Holder this week talking about kicking people. He says he meant it just as a metaphor, but that kind of language is changing all of our politics. What about the idea that the president, when he is speaking so often, giving all these interviews, there is so much to fact check, David Zurawik. And I just wonder if we're at a point now where views of Trump are so fixed, a lot of folks are numb to all the misleading information. We're not seeing enough of that checking every time he goes out and takes questions on the South Lawn.
Brian, you can't, I mean, I don't know how you could possibly keep up. The more he grows exponentially in his presence on TV, the tougher it gets. And you are absolutely right at the top of this show. He has polluted our information ecosystem. He's made it almost toxic. When you combine him with the troll farm in St. Petersburg and the Russians and all the other people, this is a really dangerous situation. Listen, Trump can go on TV, say something incredibly stupid, something that's horrible in terms of foreign relations, and it almost doesn't matter because he's on to the next thing talking about it, and we're always chasing him. Look, the only comfort I take in all of this right now is that a long time ago on this show I said, you know, The Apprentice, everybody says it was such a hit, but if you look at its ratings arc, it was declining steeply. There's a law, the Nielsen gods, Nielsen gods giveth and the Nielsen gods taketh. And I think Trump may be in decline in terms of his popularity on television and starting to feel it. And that's going to make him even more helter-skelter and crazy, and we're going to get more of it. But the threat to democracy about the kinds of lies, disinformation that he pumps out there is a real danger, and we have to stay vigilant about it and try to fact-check them.
Hey, Gabby, I noticed this tweet from an outspoken critic of the president this week, Colonel Morris Davis. He said on Twitter, in Russia, Putin controls the state TV network. In America, the state TV network controls Trump. Now, obviously, I think that's an exaggeration, but is there some truth to that idea that the president is so focused on what Fox is saying about him and whether they're showing the rallies that there is an element of control?
Well, I do certainly think that the absence of those aired rallies for their entire duration has led him to do sort of these mainstream interviews. Obviously, the interview with 60 Minutes that's airing today, all of those phone calls that he made into Fox News earlier this week, he's trying to make up for that loss of coverage that he so heavily relied on. But to be fair, I also think that a lot of what's happening is, especially at Fox News, is that the sheer volume of the rallies that he's doing in these last 20 to 25 days before the midterm elections is just hard to keep up with. I mean, as you said earlier, Brian, it is a business decision for a lot of these networks. Obviously, CNN and MSNBC stopped carrying Trump rallies in full a long time ago because they realized that you're just giving the president basically an hour-long television message to deliver to his supporters. And Fox News seems to be realizing that, and I think that it is a problem. It's going to become a moment where the White House needs to take a step back and maybe rework their strategy in terms of President Trump's messaging. But I do think that President Trump is obviously frustrated by this decision. His communications director, Bill Shine, is obviously frustrated. And a lot of White House aides are wondering what they can do to make sure that his message is reaching potential voters, even undecided voters, in this last stretch before the midterm elections.
And one more element in this conversation, I wonder, Doug, what you made of this move that was announced the other day. Hope Hicks, formerly Trump's closest aide, is joining Fox as the head of PR. Fox meaning the parent company of Fox News, Fox Sports, and the broadcast network. She certainly wanted a corporate job, but does this look like one of those switches where Bill Shine went from Fox to the White House and she went from White House to Fox?
Yeah, usually when you talk about the revolving door in Washington, it's about members of Congress or staff becoming lobbyists, then becoming more important staffs, then higher paid lobbyists, and round and round. Yeah. This shows that the Fox revolving door with the administration is very real, and there's no surprise when you see that message backed up every day on Fox. And there are marching orders. I can tell you, having worked in Republican congressional offices for the RNC, Fox was looked at sometimes not to take marching orders per se, but to see what the base was saying so you could react accordingly. More so than, let's put my boss on Fox so we can get in front of the base and talk to them. What's the base telling us?